I knew something was wrong the moment my mother stopped saying my name. She just called me her. Like I was a stray shadow in the hallway instead of her daughter. The silence that followed was colder than anything she ever yelled at me. It told me exactly what she planned to do: push me out, erase me, pretend I didn't matter. She'd been doing it in small ways for years. But this time, she was bold enough to cut me out of the family trip altogether. I heard it. Through the wall first. Her voice hissing with the excitement she only used when she was getting away with something. Just us, she whispered to my brother. It'll be nice without the tension she brings. My brother didn't argue. He never did. I think he liked being the golden child too much to risk losing the shine. I stood in the hallway, listening. Hands trembling but face calm. Because that's the skill you learn when you grow up under someone who twists guilt like wire around your ribs. You learn to breathe quietly. You learn to smile even when you want to scream. And you learn to plan. The flashback hit me like a cold wave. Her ripping up my acceptance letter to a summer program when I was 16, saying it wouldn't be good for the family image. Her forcing me to apologize to a cousin who stole from me because we don't cause problems. Her telling relatives I was difficult, overly emotional, hard to deal with. I thought I'd grown past it, built a life far enough away that her claws couldn't reach me. But hearing her cut me out, hearing her delight in it woke something quiet and sharp inside me. I didn't confront her. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I didn't need to. Because the resort she booked, well, it belonged to me now. A year earlier, she'd mocked me for wasting time on my real estate investments. She didn't know those wastes of time had turned into 3 profitable properties and 1 opportunity. I couldn't resist a struggling private resort on the coast that needed a silent investor. I became that investor, then, over time, the primary owner, quietly, legally, strategically, just the way she never expected me to be. So when she bragged about the upcoming family vacation, about the private beach and exclusive suites, I recognized the name instantly. She thought she was indulging in luxury. Really, she was stepping straight into my territory. She sent a family group text a week before they left. A cheerful message with a fake apology tacked on. Oops, looks like the room only accommodates 3. Maybe next year. There were 4 of us. She knew exactly what she was doing. I didn't reply. Not to her, not to anyone. Instead, I called the resort manager, instructed him to keep my ownership confidential, and told him precisely how the accommodations would work. He didn't ask why. Money has a way of closing unnecessary questions. I booked my own suite. Oceanfront, top floor. The kind reserved for owners. When my family arrived, I watched them from the balcony, their faces glowing with satisfaction as they checked in. My mother wore a wide-brimmed hat and the smile of someone who thought she'd finally shaped the world to her preference. She had no idea. The manager led them to their room, a room deliberately downgraded to standard view because of a last-minute availability issue. She complained, of course. She demanded what she believed she deserved, but the manager was firm. The rules were clear. She signed the paperwork with a tight jaw. That evening, I began. I left an envelope at the front desk with her name on it. A printout of the receipt she bragged about getting at a discount, next to the internal invoice showing she'd been charged extra for late modifications. A fee she never made. A fee, I added. She hated losing money more than she hated me. The second day, I had the staff accidentally schedule her into group activities she didn't sign up for. A beginner surfing lesson, a kids snorkeling class, a pottery workshop meant for retirees. Every time she stormed back to the desk, the employees apologized with the kind of customer service politeness that infuriates someone who thinks she's special. But it wasn't the petty inconveniences that mattered. Those were just the cracks. The real break came on the 3rd night. I invited my brother to the owner's lounge using a quiet message he thought came from resort management. He arrived confused, but curious, wandering inside the dim-lit room where the ocean view glowed like a sheet of molten metal behind the windows. He froze when he saw me. I didn't know you were here, he said, and there was guilt in his voice. The first honest emotion I'd heard from him in years. Mom didn't tell you I wasn't invited? I asked. He looked away. That was answer enough. I told him everything, not emotional pleas, not childhood wounds, not desperate explanations. Just facts, simple, cold facts. The forged signatures she'd used on tax documents years ago, when she listed me as a dependent even though I'd moved out. The recordings I'd found of her calling relatives to smear me, twisting every memory into something sinister. The financial trail showing she'd accessed money from an account she had no legal right to touch, evidence I'd collected quietly, patiently, over years of being dismissed. His face went pale. She can't know. He whispered. She will. I said. But you deserve to know first. The next morning, my mother was summoned to the manager's office. She entered with confidence. She left shaking because waiting On the desk was my final envelope, documents outlining every piece of evidence, every signature, every recording, every financial discrepancy. Nothing illegal on my part, nothing fabricated. Just the truth sheet buried under years of manipulation, and at the bottom was a single line. Handwritten by me, "You tried to erase me from your trip. I'm just returning the favor." When she stormed out, she finally spotted me in the lobby. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I didn't speak to her, I didn't need to. I simply walked past, the weight of her silence trailing behind me like a defeated shadow. I checked out early, leaving her to stew in a resort she no longer felt safe in, surrounded by staff who now knew who I really was. Not her problem child, not her disappointment, her owner. As I left the property, the sun slipped beneath the horizon, staining the sky with a color that looked almost like bruised gold. Revenge isn't loud, it's quiet, patient, sharpened by years of being unspoken. And as the waves folded into the shore, I understood something simple. I wasn't the girl she tried to diminish. I was a woman who learned how to stand in the dark and carve her way out. If you want to hear more stories carved from quiet shadows, stay close.